we see so many, buddy films in other genders, but in terms of women, it's not spoken enough, I feel, though this is such a powerful energy. And many times in life, you even feel like this, it has the ability to push us out of very difficult circumstances. So I was very keen to make something around that. Very often, we build our homes, and I'm quoting a lovely author called Najwa Zebian when she says, we build our homes in other people. That is what it is. So when she's yearning for home, this is the only thing she can reach out to and she can get. And it's a very intimate moment.
When the promotions of the films were happening, it was a very unique promo idea that you planned for it. I mean, it was kind of hilarious across the entire Instagram was on fire, Twitter was on fire for a couple of days. And you also mentioned that it was kind of a social experiment. So what was the learning that you all had from this particular very unique promotion that you did?
That scene, I have had people ask me, but where is the baby? Where did she leave the baby? Why isn't the husband around? And I never even felt the need for it. I still don't feel it.
Rarely have I seen, in a mainstream film, a heroine is eating. That scene is captured. They kind of make it feel that they do not have that kind of a culinary life of their own.
Yeah, heroines don't eat in Indian cinema. That is what we have seen.
Strange if you say that. Oh my God, that's very strange. It says a lot, right? It says a lot about our reality. I think men are as much victims of patriarchy than women. It's as much. It's the line where he says, sambar lo uppilla, which means that the salt is less in the sambar. I'm getting these calls saying, he said that, and I wanted to just slap him.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to FilmCoMMENT. Today is a very special day for us. Today we have someone with us who had sparked the interest of watching Malayalam cinema for many of us beyond Kerala, who have later grown up to become ardent fans and followers of the industry. Back in the day, Bangalore Days in 2014 was that kind of an experience for me, which opened a new horizon of Indian cinema beyond Hindi and Bengali. And writer-director Anjali Menon is that unique voice of an intimate insider and the curious outsider from Malayalam cinema, whose stories on celluloid have depicted themes of family, migrant experience, gender, and cross-cultural interactions that all of us can relate to. Anjali is also one of the founders of the Women in Cinema Collective, an organization that focuses on gender equality in Malayalam film industry. Last week, we had a new feature release, Wonder Woman, that we loved so much, which is now streaming on Sony Liv. And today we have Anjali Menon with us to discuss a new film and the cinema overall. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, first of all, please tell us from where this idea of Wonder Woman was born, and when you first conceived the idea, whom were you making this film for?
Well, you could say the idea was born from my own experience of being backed up by women, in certain spaces in life. And I've always found it's a very different energy when a bunch of women get together. And it's also peculiar that it doesn't get spoken about much. We see so many, buddy films in other genders, but in terms of women, it's not spoken enough, I feel, though this is such a powerful energy. And many times in life, you even feel like this, it has the ability to push us out of very difficult circumstances. So I was very keen to make something around that.
And who, according to you, is a Wonder Woman?
I think anybody who stands up for other women is a Wonder Woman.
Fantastic. Yeah. And, not just the film, but when the promotions of the films were happening, it was a very unique promo idea that you planned for it. I mean, it was kind of hilarious across the entire Instagram was on fire, Twitter was on fire for a couple of days. And you also mentioned that it was kind of a social experiment. So what was the learning that you all had from this particular very unique promotion that you did?
See, we were a small little film, and we wanted to reach out to people who would be interested in something like this. And we thought, why not, start with something which is sitting right within the film, which is like the news of pregnancy. And people react in such different ways, right, to that kind of news. So we said, let's do this. Let's put it out there. And when the actors also came on board, they were all very enthused about the idea. And some of them had reservations. Like, are you sure this is going to be okay? So we said, let's play it by ear. We'll short, and then we'll see how it's evolving and take it from there. So first, when they put out the news, I mean, it was, I think, very easily figured out because 6 women are sharing the same picture and giving out the same news. So they accused me of having done it to, literally manipulating them. But I think everybody had a lot of fun on it. It was something where the warmth that came back, that was really quite surprising. The kind of warmth that came back. People were, those who actually believed it for a moment actually came out with a lot of, congratulations and good wishes. Whereas others who figured it out quickly were all very excited that, oh my God, something is going to happen in this space. Okay. So there were some people who got a little concerned about what's going on. But I think overall, the majority people reacted with a lot of warmth, and that really, was not anticipated to that level. We are so used to getting criticized and trolled and everything that it was surprising to see that level of warmth and very welcome.
So was that the first assumption that, okay, we're putting something like this out, so let's be ready for the backlash?
It was something, we knew we were doing something a little cheeky, but we also were doing it from a good place. We didn't want to take it for a ride or anything. It wasn't that at all. It was something which anyway, within the day, we were going to tell everyone. So immediately we already had the videos ready of each of them in character, speaking about the pregnancy. So I think on the same day, within a couple of hours, it's that the first video came out. So it was a very short-lived, but I think, it kind of, got everybody, interested in the subject. Yeah.
There were very, very interesting comments, actually. I was going through one in Parvati's Insta page, and really.
And Parvati to engage as well, so it becomes even more.
Yes, she was doing that, yes. Ma'am, tell me, you have mentioned this more than once in your previous interviews that from Manjari Kuru itself, you realize that you always have to keep a place for surprises while you are shooting, for the actors to pitch in and all. And you always have this ensemble cast, where you have different actors from different, approaches to the craft, and they have different level of energy. So you will also have to have a film completed in a timeline and all of that. So how do you kind of control to the point which you will let surprises in, and how this instinctive energy of all the actors you work with?
I think by now everybody who works with me knows that I need a bit of room to do things. I'm not somebody who just does A to B thing. That there will always be some changes and there will always be some improvisations and all that. Most of all, I think my producers know that now. So as things evolve, it's lovely to be able to capture that kind of energy. And I don't think I've actually had that much of a problem in sort of reining things in. Because at the end of the day, everybody's there, they know why they're there, and they're all trying to contribute in the right direction. And it's actually quite a gentle approach. I think that works the best. When we really see things are going out of gear, which it really doesn't. It doesn't go like that. I love to fly with it. Maybe that's why I don't feel it. Okay. So when things are, going beyond an energy that I've envisaged, I always like to try and see where is this going. Because sometimes, it's going to a nice place. So what that wave is, when we ride with it, I think it becomes part of the film and it becomes something natural. Otherwise, it's never that, you have to control people. I don't like the word controlling someone too much. And I think that kind of really changes the dynamics of our relationship. So, it's about observing. It's about gently nudging. And I think what has to unfold will unfold. And sometimes when there is like a surge of energy, sometimes it's good for it to just escape as well. That it goes and then we come back to doing what we're doing. Sometimes that's also good. So I don't think we should be scared about it.
Okay, that's very interesting because, they say that the director is like the captain of the ship. So you have to hold the reins. But when you said the term like gently nudging, that's a very interesting term. Like I didn't think in that perspective that, okay, a person can think like that, okay, even if you are the director, you have to keep everything under check, but it's about the synergy also of the entire team. So I think
very much it's not a ghode pe lagam situation, right? It's not that. These are people who bring with them, truckloads of experience. Right. I have made a few films. All of them have worked in many more films than that. So I need to respect that. My DP, my editor, all of them actually will have far more experience because though we've started our careers together, the way their profile is that they get to do a lot more work. So I think it's important to respect that. And over the years, I've discovered this. It's not that I always used to think like that. I used to initially think that as a director, you have to, be the end all of everything. Yes, you have to be the final say, but to invite others to collaborate is a very, very important thing.
Right. That's fantastic.
No wonder that when we had this interview with Parvati, all three of us, and when we spoke about her collaboration with you, she was like, it's very difficult to go and work for another director after having worked with you. She will take some gap in between after having worked in Bangalore Days and Kule. Yeah.
It's just, I think everybody has a different process, and each of us are making different kind of films. But my job is just to provide an environment where they can come forth and to stimulate them, to provoke them, to make them use parts which they might not be using otherwise.
Okay. And also just an extension of this, like the way you write your characters. I mean, it's as an audience, as a viewer myself, I just connect to every character so effortlessly. And you carve out these characters so effortlessly with very minimal props in use, with very few lines, and there would be some unique intricacies with all these characters. And that's how they become very distinguishable and you remember them for a long time. So how do you do this every time? There has to be some magic formula, right?
Oh, I this time, in fact, I'm watching very carefully what the feedback is, because I've tried something very different. Every time I'm trying to do it a little differently. When we were doing Coup Day, I wanted to really lose this whole thing of over-explaining through the voiceover and all of that. I had been using that in my films consistently. So I said, let's throw that out. Let's throw out most of the dialogue. Let's see what we can achieve. So I think we tried a certain form. And now this time I've actually gone into really economical writing, because my films tend to be very long, and I wasn't sure that would be an ideal thing for an OTT audience, because the attention spans are much shorter, and the chances of them skipping off to something else also much higher. So you want to hold them and keep it taut. So I've not really tried to underline a lot of things in this. There are things, sometimes you have, okay, one point, it needs to be established with the audience. So you build it in about 3-4 places so that they get an understanding of what that is. Here, I may have mentioned it only in one place. So I'm curiously watching whether people are getting it or they're saying, hey, we didn't get it. I'm getting both feedback, I have to be honest, because there are many things that people are not getting, and they're asking, but why? And then when I give an answer, like, oh, okay, but that should not be. You should be able to get it in the first viewing itself, isn't it? So yeah, it's a learning process. When I try to minimize what I'm establishing with many characters, then yes, we can do it in a smaller duration, but it also calls for a higher engagement from the audience, then that they have to really read into whatever little is there.
Between the lines, basically.
Yeah. So the thing is, I, as a filmmaker, I can't be too demanding of my audience. Neither can I sort of just, say that it doesn't matter if they don't get it. That's not how it is. I want them to engage and be, feeling with the character, right? So it's about finding that balance. And with every form you try, I think one just has to see if it's working or not. So it's not like, I'm always so sure. I'm also trying every time. Right. And if it's working for you, I'm just very happy to know that.
It does.
So for this film, if you're saying that you particularly thought of the OTT audience and try to make the duration shorter, so is there an extended version of the film where there are more intricacies involved?
I would have loved to make it a whole long film with giving everybody their backstories and going home with them and spending time with them and everything. I would have loved it. In fact, the thing is, see, with the subject that we're dealing as well, okay, we're talking about empathy, we're talking about, sisterhoods and everything, but we're also talking about a very specific phenomena of pregnancy, right? And an audience member will possibly be curious about a lot of things and would like to see it in far more depth. And I would love to show it in that form. So this being, the first time we're dealing with a subject sort of in this form, I'm really curious to see how it is. And if it is an open door, which fortunately we've got lovely responses, if it's that, then I would definitely jump in and tell much longer stories in this.
I hope so. Fingers crossed.
Yes.
And do you think if you actually get into the backstories, the intricacies, this film might have been a bit more darker, which you did not want to start with?
Definitely. You see, the thing is, this is not the sunny period everybody makes it out to be, right? It's not. Even in the film, you may have seen that when they come into their shared spaces, they're all in a way wearing masks. They're all sort of putting on a certain bravado, showing a certain sunny disposition, which they don't have individually. Each of them has their own little battles that they're going through.
Right.
And they don't emerge actually in the shared spaces at all. So even at the end, when Nora and Minnie are having a go at each other, they don't really know what the other's problem is. We may know, but they don't know. So that is the reality of it, that we don't really come forth in our shared spaces unless you really spend time with one another and you're really getting to know. So yes, if I also had more time with them, then I think that would be an opportunity to get them to know much closer and to see them bonding at a much different level as well.
Correct.
It would not be like this. It would be much deeper, much further. And yes, that would be a very delicious thing to try.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we hope something like that really comes up, because we are so excited. My question to you is that we have heard before that you put layers on your characters based on the actors after the casting is complete. So, do any of the Wonder Woman in the film resemble the actors in any way?
No, what I would say is, rather than put layers, I kind of try and find little hooks which are from within their personal experience or their emotional being or something that they may have had. It just helps them get a better grip on the character, I think. I think that's my job as the director, to just help them get that slight better grip on it. So I think, yes, everybody has little bits. I don't want to say which ones, but that would give away too much. But it comes from also a space of knowing each of them at a personal level.
Right, of course.
And even when I've worked with actors who I haven't known, it's been a process of trying to do that. And that's a very difficult space when you don't know the actor and yet you're guessing and you're trying to figure out things. So yeah, when I've done that also, it's worked eventually. So fortunately, yeah, I think it just gives them a little door to get into the character, and then they can run with it.
Right.
But one of the most striking sequences for me in the film was absolutely at the end. Even after the hospital sequence is when the end credits roll, and before that we see all of them in the seashore. At that point of time, I kind of felt that, of course, it's about pregnancy, but it is also more about the sisterhood. It's not only about the pregnancy, because generally a film like this would maybe end in, the baby is born, the focus is on the baby. But here you take it to them, these characters, and not the destination where they're heading to. So if you could talk about that, it's not about only pregnancy, maybe.
No, definitely. For me, the film is, like I said, it's through this context of pregnancy that we tell the story, but it's about what these women find with each other. And that is why you see the beat sequence, there. The only reference I think there to babies is the fact that all of them are not all, but most of them are carrying bellies. And you have the storks on the beach, which was, a nice thing to have. But that scene, I have had people ask me, but where is the baby? Where did she leave the baby? Why isn't the husband around? Or at least you should have put a shot with the husband and the baby in the background. And I never even felt the need for it. I still don't feel it, because it is about what's between them. It's about what is born between them. When we see the even the delivery scene, what comes after that, we don't see the baby. The typical thing is somebody coming out and actually announcing the gender of the baby.
Yes.
That's actually the first thing that happens.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know, that was not the thing. Here it was the victory of Jaya having, done what she set out to do.
Right.
And the point was, these women were trying to keep her spirit alive. That was the biggest thing.
Correct.
And with the men there as well, they were standing there in support. Her husband was standing there saying that you matter to me.
Yeah.
It's not about the baby. So it's that journey. I think that journey needs acknowledgement. So what you see on the beach is the continued extension of that journey. I think what we see there tells us that they will remain friends.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Correct.
And that's the important thing. And it's the sea. It's an ongoing thing, right? So waves will come and go, but through it all, they remain there. There is a part of that sequence, you see Nandita stepping into the one by one, each of them are going into the water. Till then they're on the beach, and when they go to the water, each of them is reacting in their own way. Nora is celebrating. Minnie is fearful. Each one is doing a different thing. So that's the journey, and it's going on.
Yeah, it kind of suggests that everybody's journeys are different, but we are all in this together, basically.
Yes.
And it's like, even if we had a character who is not pregnant, but that person is sharing this journey, that person would have been the Wonder Woman as well.
Absolutely. I mean, in this Nandita, who is not a biological mother, she's the one who's actually guiding them.
Yeah.
Right.
And it does not have to do with anything with being a biological mother. It has to do with sensitivity and understanding and empathy, and that is what is exciting for her when she sees the group. Yeah. And to see those bonds building, to see how quickly, even when they are on different sides of an argument, when it comes to a certain point, how quickly they come together.
Right.
That is the important thing.
Yeah.
There are certain sequences in the film that I loved. Especially, there's this one scene where obviously the respective partners are talking to each other, and Nitya Menon's character and about her, and then her husband suggests that she might be losing her objectives in life because of the obsession with her baby, with the unborn child, and she has become a different person since pregnancy, as we hear him say. Now, this was a very realistic scene for me, because this happens, and it's not an uncommon thing for so many women in our country or in the entire world. So what's your take on this aspect of motherhood, that in most occasions, that take away years from a woman's professional life? Because I'm pretty sure that scene would have, you would have put a lot of thought in writing that particular scene. It's a very difficult topic to address.
It is a very difficult topic. And I'm glad you asked me this, because see, it's one thing about getting into this phase is also that, for me, that character of Nora, it's that it's not just about what's around us now. When one is going through that journey, your entire baggage that you carry right from when you're born comes into this.
Yeah.
That is what Nora's character is about. Her relationship with her mother.
Exactly.
And that is not to judge the mother or her or anyone. Point is that they have a difficult relationship. So it is not about prioritizing one's career or one's baby. No, I'm not judging anybody on that. That is not the thing at all. Point is that she is choosing to make a decision, a choice based on her own thing, and not because of some tradition or what her mother may have done or anything. She's basing it on her own experience. So she says there that I know what it feels like, and therefore, even at the space where we are in, Samana, she's trying to connect with her mother, but that connect is not there.
Right.
It is not a judgment on a woman having a career who's given her baby and is pursuing that. I'm not judging this to be in that way at all. I'm saying that it is the connection which is important. Minus that connection, then the fallout of that is not in a positive space.
Correct, because she also says that there are women who have a career and they can build a house also, and they can have a perfect family, but she's not like that. Her experiences are
her thing was she did not have anybody with her.
Correct.
She did not feel connected to anyone, right. And then even now when she's reaching out, there is no response. So there are many people like that, right?
Right.
There are many people who it is not because somebody has a career or not. It's just that they don't have that connect.
Right. Absolutely.
And that doesn't serve her purpose. But she herself was being very judgmental when she took that kind of a decision. Later, as she's with all of these people, she goes back to her workspace.
She goes back. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So that is herself stepping back from being judgmental. A lot of times, we are so, we are so clear about what we think of our mothers until we have our babies. The minute you have that, you realize that, oh my God, she's been through all this and more.
Right. We probably have judged our mothers too harshly. That's when we realize it.
That is a big process. That learning about one's own mother when one is going through this is also a very big thing. So it's so easy to judge sitting in somebody else's shoes.
Absolutely.
Sitting in one's own shoes. But when you step into another's shoes is when you really understand that, okay, this is how it is and this is what it takes. So for me, Nora's journey is going from someone who's judgmental and was a little fixed to being somebody who's trying to be more empathetic. Her whole thing about she's trying to reach out to Minnie. Why does she have that need to connect? Why is she so insistent on connecting with everybody?
Right.
Why won't she just let people be? No, she has to go and connect.
Right.
That is her need for validation.
Okay.
So also when we were shooting, it wasn't written in the script in that way, but it was a very interesting chemistry between the Nora character and Nandita.
Right.
And that also evolves in its own way. So finally, when she connects and she says, we're lucky to have you, we can see how Nora sees Nandita.
Right.
So that somewhere that vacuum is getting filled by others. The way, Vaini's character, she's so enveloping of Nora.
Yes.
And Nora loves that.
Yes.
So you see, we all fill each other's lives. We fit into the vacuums, into the jigsaws in different ways.
Right.
And that might be the reason she is so particular about getting Minnie involved as well. Always trying to pull her in.
Yeah, trying a bit too much, maybe.
Yes. Yes.
And the way Minnie reacts also is that, from Minnie's perspective, she looks like somebody who's not really, genuine. She just, feels like she's reading Nora's deeper layers sooner.
Right.
Minnie's also very perceptive that way. She's able to say that this girl, she's not happy, which is why she needs this.
Trying too hard.
Yeah, she's trying too hard. So, and she calls that out.
Yeah.
It's a very awkward, exposed moment for Nora as well. So yeah, that is what we've tried to show. So I think that's also the thing, in women friendships, this kind of thing happens a lot. They literally tear and tug at each other, and the real thing is exposed, and then you build from there.
Right. Yeah, it's a unique relationship. Girl friends are unique. I'm also like that with my best friends. Like when we have to give tough love, we don't hold back.
Another scene, ma'am, that fascinated me is that scene where Minnie goes and eats. And it's such a beautiful scene, kind of her physical and mental state comes out across that, she seems to be at ease with herself for the first time in that film.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about that scene. Why did you think about including it, and from which point that it came in?
See, there are a lot of traditional practices we have, right, when a woman is pregnant. And so many of our cultural practices in our country are around food. And, I don't know if you're aware, but what she's eating there are very traditional recipes, what she's eating, what's on her plate. It would probably have been what her grandma would have made for her if she was at home.
Okay.
So there is this deep, intense need in her for that. And when she's reaching out and she has no other way, right? So she can only go to a restaurant and order it. So when that food comes, her entire association of that food is with her family and is with home and all of that. So when she's eating it, it is not just physical nourishment there. There is a soul nourishment. There is an emotional thing which is getting fulfilled. So when we were shooting that, I said, okay, we'll shoot it at this location. We were doing that. And I had not realized that they had this huge sign of homemade written behind.
Oh,
yes.
I shocked when I got there that, wow, okay, this is sitting here. So great. So, that it just kind of tied into what we were trying to do. And also, if you notice the music which is there is the same music which appears when the grandma turns up. So that is home. That moment is home. And that is what she really wants. And very often, we build our homes. And I'm quoting a lovely author called Najwa Zebian when she says, we build our homes in other people. And, that is what it is. So when she's yearning for home, this is the only thing she can reach out to and she can get. And it's a very intimate moment.
Right.
When we see other people sharing intimate moments with their partners and things, for her, she is the one. So it's her own moment there.
Okay.
What also struck out for me is rarely have I seen, our, in a mainstream film, a heroine is eating. that scene is captured. They kind of make it feel that they do not have that kind of a culinary life of their own.
Yeah, heroines don't eat in Indian cinema. That is what we have seen.
Strange if you say that. Oh my God, that's very strange. I don't know. It's it says a lot, right? It says a lot about our reality, that something as basic as that we don't get to see, and
we don't get to see.
But we get to see them cook, and we get to see them serve.
That's very clearly shown.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, the relishing of food is, I'm sure it's there. It's there in some films, but not as much as one would see. One should see it, I guess.
Something as basic as that is rarely there yet.
But on the flip side, that is one area where all our ladies were, fully following method acting, because they were freaking out on because they were playing pregnant women. It was very good. So they were like, no, we're being in character. We have to be eating this much.
Amazing. And coming to characters, I have to talk about my favorite character, which was Jaya. And she was absolutely amazing. Like Amrita Subhash in the film was just phenomenal. I mean, most of her scenes, I was just bawling my eyes out. So just tell us something about this casting choice, as you not only cast her, but also her real life husband.
Yes. I mean, that was a complete surprise for me, because when I wrote this character, I've known Amrita from before, as in we've met socially, and she's always expressed, interest to work together. And I adore her work. She's really amazing. Every time she startles me with how real she is. And this was a situation where we were doing this film very quickly. And I literally reached out to people I knew and said, hey, we got to do this really quick. And so I need block dates. And because it's ensemble, you need that many dates from everyone, right? So I really couldn't see Amrita being able to do that, because she's a very busy actor. And we were asking for dates for so long for such, immediate shooting. And I thought I shouldn't even ask Amrita, but she was my reference. So I gave her a photograph around and I said, find me actors like this. It's somebody like this I'm looking for. And I was being sent all kinds of profiles, and it just doesn't, wasn't going through. And that's when Amrita and I, we are represented by the same, agency. Okay. So when we got talking, I mentioned this to my agent, that I'm looking for somebody like Amrita Subhash. So he said, hey, he knew the script, my agent Chaitanya Hegde, and he said, why don't you speak to Amrita? I said, but she'd never be able to give us dates so soon and things. He said, give it a shot, speak to her, find out. So then they made it possible that we could have that conversation. She was very excited, but she again said, I don't know about dates. I don't know if that's possible. And then I said, okay, let me send you the script. You take a read and then you can decide. Also, it's not like the main role. It's an ensemble and there are this many women and it's one of the women and all of that. So she said, okay, fine. And we did this. She read the script and she loved it. And that's it. It was, she just said yes and jumped on board. So while we were casting for her and her husband, I had found some pictures online, and there was this one particular picture where she was looking at a gentleman, and I said, hey, this kind of a guy is what we're looking for. And my ADs were looking for that guy. And then when we spoke, that's when I realized that this guy is Amrita's husband. Oh my God, okay. Then is it possible that, he can be in it too? So it was like, okay, I want you and your husband. She put me in touch with him and Sandesh Kulkarni. My God, he's such a
so
good person to have around. He's a writer-director himself. And, it was a very interesting conversation we had. And it just, it just came through so beautifully. I think it was just a destined thing. So when we were having our rehearsals, we started in the morning, I remember, and we were taking a lunch break and their flight was late. So when we came down for the lunch break, I suddenly saw a couple standing in front of me, ringing the doorbell. And then, she comes to me and she says, Madam, main Jaya aur ye Umesh. And they came in costume.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know what to say. I just stood there looking at them while everybody else was squealing away.
Oh my God.
And that's who they are. That's who they are. Such beautiful, simple people who are such powerful performers. I love them for just jumping on board like that. And And not for a moment did they, make us feel, or I don't think even they felt out of place, because this was a different culture. It was, shooting in a different place. They didn't know anybody, not even me. And still, they were just so switched on all the time. And I think it's the theater background also that really helps. Ours was a very indie set, everybody was sitting around and chatting and everything.
Right.
And Sandesh ji, again, he's a writer director, so he brings a very different perspective. So I can always feel his eyes on me that he's watching.
Interesting.
We would joke about it, but really it was an awesome time to have both of them there.
Your films are kind of, it's always like that. It's not one person's story, like Bangalore Days, it belongs to the three cousins, and it's also Sarah's story. And these all characters you have in each of your films, one person can relate to one of the characters and it becomes a different film for his or her in her imagination. So you keep on doing that, which fascinates all of us.
It's that maybe the first time you are relating to one character, like you said, you related to Jaya, right? Ashmita, you said you related. Maybe the next time you see it, you may relate to somebody else.
Yes.
So, it's...
Absolutely.
Yeah, so then, it becomes a different film then, right?
Your lens completely changes.
Yeah, so I get very excited with that the same audience member is watching it. When, I love these films like the Robert Altman films, where he has so many characters, and every time I watch it, oh my God, I'm on a completely different journey. So, when that is very far away, but that is the kind of experience that really fascinates me, how he does that. And in the making and the casting and all of it. So, one tries in small ways to try and do that. And I'm hoping for this, that you get empathy for every character, and then you'll see it a little differently. Right. First time a character may look a certain way. In Bangalore Days, first time everybody see Das, they are not very pleased with him. They feel he's a bit of a killjoy, and he's not the cool guy. But then second time you watch it, his story. Yeah. So then when you watch it, it has to work then also.
Right.
Absolutely. So that is where an actor like Fahad can do that magic. That next time you see it, you're really liking him.
Yeah.
It's that. So
I loved him the first time only, but it's my favorite actor.
Yeah, all of us.
Yeah, also it's that's the fun part of it, right? Rather than tell it flat. I hope. Yeah.
Ma'am, do you when you conceive the film, when you make the film, do you think about the rewatch value? Do you think about instead of people will watch it more than once? Is it an intention for you to think about that, or does it organically happen for you?
No, I think it's not like a rewatch value, which is sounds like a resale value. No, it's not that, but I think it's also I like theater a lot, and when we watch a play, the same troupe is doing the play. You watch it the one day and you watch it the next day, it's different.
Right.
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 And for me, that is where that experience is coming from. That why would I go back and watch the same play? Sometimes, maybe once the other day, I was watching, this lovely play which Sandesh Kulkarni and Amrita Subhash are doing now, called Fir Se Honeymoon. We were watching it at Prithvi, and there was one small character, that person's debut. It was his debut in theater for the first time he was performing. But he brought such lovely energy into the play that I'm sure another person having done it, it would have been a very different feel.
Right.
So I think this is important. What happens in that particular moment is very important. With us, with whatever is going on screen. In screen, it's okay, it's captured. You can't change it. But the mode in which you and I may watch it another time, we may be different, you see.
Yeah,
so the character we latch onto on that day is different. There's this wonderful filmmaker we have called Padmarajan, who is he's a brilliant, prolific filmmaker who's made so many movies that we have so much to look up to. I remember watching a film of his called Deshadana Kilikal Karayarella, where it's a story of two girls who run away from their school. And when I watched it, when I was like a schoolgirl, my empathy was entirely for the girls. Okay, then I watched it, 20 years later, and my empathy was entire for the teacher who had to suffer because these girls ran away.
Right.
Now, how does one do that? That is what, so it's because I have shifted my perspective, right? film is what it is. But now I'm entirely feeling like, what's wrong with these girls? Why did they not know it? And that shows where I have shifted. So I think we need to give room to the audience also. In fact, today they may like something, tomorrow they may not like it, or vice versa. I think we need to give room that the audience will also change. And by the time we are writing something, frankly, we write it maybe in 1 year and it's made in the next year. By the time it comes out, it's a good, 12, 15 months. In the middle of this, the audience would have changed a lot. They would have seen a lot more content, especially over the last 2 years. So their sensibility may also have changed. So that's always a risk and it's always a learning.
Right.
So I think we have to just try and pick from where we are and go ahead. So more than like a rewatch value, it is about the value of your film across a spectrum of time. That somebody may watch it at another stage. Maybe they'll watch it 10 years later. Will it make sense to them? Or is it so topical that it's only making sense now? So, that is the thing.
Yes, that makes so much sense now, the way you explain it. I wanted to ask you that your women characters are always stunning. There's a very mature approach to the male characters as well. Like the soft touch to the character of Bala you put in Wonder Woman is beautiful. And then we cannot forget Joshua from Kude, perhaps the most refreshing male character we have seen in the recent times. So how you bring out this really depicted tenderness of men in your films?
Well, I shouldn't discriminate with my because we are gender, right? That is not done, no? This is what we are seeking. So, we should not be doing that. So, yes, see, for me, each of these characters are mine. They're very dear to me.
Right.
And I think it was Prithviraj who said, if you say anything about Joshua to Anjali, she'll probably punch you in the face. It's they're really dear to me. I really care for them, and I wouldn't want, that they look half-baked, or I wouldn't want that. I would want people to understand them. I would want people to be able to see them as real people,
Right.
and not just as a character. And that was the biggest risk this time, that in this short time, is that going to be possible? Are they going to have enough dimensions for people to be able to relate to them? So I hope they do. That the gender is not really the thing. It's whoever is the character. For me, even if it is a smaller character, if they're in frame, even for a short time, that person is the hero of that frame, right? So it's important that they stand there in all their dimensions, that we can understand. So even if it is not spelled out, somewhere it has to be implied, somewhere that this is not a block character. This is somebody who's layered, who's a real person, who has some kind of a backstory, who's coming from some kind of a space. That is important. So irrespective of what gender they are. So, I would think that when Bala is saying something, it's not because of his gender, but it's because that, we can easily judge people. And we are so judgmental, right? You hear something and you just decide, okay, this is who this person is. Or you see something and you decide. I really like stereotypes. I will admit that. I like them so much, but I like stereotypes to take them and then do something with them. Rather than, leave them as they are. So that is the attempt always. That the beauty of a stereotype is that the audience immediately knows, ye to aisa hai. You know it. But then you take that and then you show one other petal come off and it looks a little different. That helps us understand that, okay, I need to slightly let go, slightly let go of my perceptions and maybe look at this a little differently. And people are, I think, very willing to be, in Wonder Woman, the mother-in-law is actually very stereotypical, Veni's mother-in-law.
Yes.
But the thing is, she too, from that very first lesson, when she's hearing Nandita express herself and speaking about identity and everything, she's actually, she's checked there. But she's watching and she's listening carefully. Right. And when she's attending the classes, you'll see her. She's in the background. She's looking at things. She's doing things. But somewhere all this is going in.
Right.
So as she's evolving, we have to see here. I've not spent time to say that she's evolving, but she's very much there. So when her son is behaving in a certain way, she recognizes her responsibility in that equation.
Yes.
When they're having that conversation and she sort of chances upon it, she doesn't lose her lid or throw a tantrum or anything. She just quietly, exits that equation.
Right.
So the mother-in-law, I'm hoping, is somebody with an inner life, somebody who's reviewing these things, understanding these things. Right at the end, it's the mother-in-law who's arguing with the doctor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And she's saying things which were said in that class.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
right.
So these things that when she's so brusque with everybody, she's again when people are saying, okay, I'm a single mother or I live with my boyfriend, you see there's a very judgmental air about her presence. But later it's the same woman who's bringing the green bangles for everybody to wear.
Right.
So there is a progression there, and I think that is what we really need to see.
Correct.
You know,
I think even I mean, honest confession, when I was watching the film, I also judged Bala. I was like, why? Then I was like, no, this is an Anjali Menon film. There's something will happen. There is something to this character.
It's a simple thing. There is that scene where he says, I love that line. It's a simple line, but I think a lot of women just jumped out of their chair at that line. When they give me feedback, I hear it. It's the line where he says, sambarlu uppilla, which means that salt is less in the sambar. I'm getting these calls saying, he said that, and I wanted to just slap him. I'm surprised. Why are they talking like this? Like such? That is a fairly innocent line. Why is it evoking such emotions?
Yeah.
But then you realize that, and her reaction to it immediately is this: okay, you should come to these classes. You'll learn a lot. Yeah. So that play, I think, is something we're all familiar with. We know those people, and so when we see those people evolve and change, and we see other sides to them, then I think it gives us hope about the very people that we are judging.
It gives us hope, and I was kind of ashamed at myself that no, I was judging too soon. Maybe give the character some time, because it is kind of a social experiment on yourself also. That yes, you are so soon to judge the mother-in-law, you're judging the husband based on certain dialogues or something. So it kind of is a self-reflecting thing also, that hold yourself back, listen to the entire thing, have a conversation, and then take a final call that how this person is, because they are still
very much. I think even with characters like Saya's character, where though she's somebody, she calls herself a liberal, she herself is struggling with this thing of having to deal with a sensitive man.
Right.
Yeah.
She doesn't know how to do it. And though even in our traditional knowledge and everything, also there are examples. So when she's at the church and she's seeing Joseph, those examples are there, but we never look at them.
Right.
So it's for everybody. I think it's a journey, to constantly evaluate and to stop being judgmental. I think for all of us, and we're all learning. Just because you put something there, I cannot assume the audience will get it. I can only hope and pray that it happens eventually. True. So it's that. So it's very difficult to be in that position of saying this is black and this is white, because I think there are a million shades between black and white.
Absolutely. Very well put.
And I think, Ashmita was talking about how women connect, about the tough love and all. What I feel personally, is also like these male characters, the tenderness you put. There's a lot of expectation out of masculinity from the mainstream films. But I really loved when Dulquer is this tough guy in Bangalore Days, but he loves so much. And that arc of Fahad in the film Joshua, I really, really love. So that's something you bring in, which is, it's not about men or women, but it's something different that you bring to the palette from mainstream heroes, as such, as we tell, which is really, really refreshing, and which also, sets the expectation that comes to the youth, or comes to, the ones who watch film from a different angle, that might give them a very different lens that you do through these characters.
It's true. In fact, everybody speaks about women portrayals. I really think we need to start looking at male portrayals in our industry. The largest amount of money is riding on, these male stars and the portrayals that they are giving. But the people, I mean, they just have to change something like their sunglasses or their hairstyle, and the number of people imitating it is really crazy, right? So my thought is, imagine showing a sensitive side, showing them being able to break down and cry, or them being nice to somebody, or them just, being more real than this macho bravado thing that they're always wearing. I think that will enable people to just be and not have to live up to this. I mean, I think men are as much victims of patriarchy than, women. It's as much.
Yes.
And to see men suffering that, to see them going through, not being able to connect to their emotion and not being allowed to just be who they are. That's
suffering from their own misplaced expectations.
Exactly. Their own and everybody else's also.
Everybody else's also. That's true.
It's not like this thing is not just maintained by one gender. It is maintained by everybody. So the minute a man is a little vulnerable, immediately he's smacked and said, "Hey, what's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
That's so unfair. That's so not done. So you know how they say that when somebody is behaving, unlovable, that is possibly the person who needs love the most.
Yeah.
It's they're victims. That is why they're behaving like that. So to be able to break that down and to understand it and to develop empathy is a process which I think, as a family one should do, as people who are in a society one should do. I think that's something that we all need to do. When, like you said, when Dulquer plays this fun guy, who's very cool and who's on the bikes and who's got everybody, entertained, and then you see a really soft, vulnerable side to him, then it really hits you.
Right.
Then you take note of it, and then you realize that, oh my God, this guy possibly comes from a space like that.
Right.
And that evolution in understanding is actually when the audience is moving into the center.
Correct.
That's right.
So with Kude as well, with Joshua, he's a very passive character. It's very difficult to make the audience like a passive character, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to see him not able to do anything. I mean, after some point, you want to really grab him by his collar and say, "Do something,"
So true.
And yet he's struggling to see that is that is something that I felt is important. And from the people who've watched it, and so many have come back and said that it was just liberating to see that we can be like that.
Correct.
And, I think we all have our learnings from these things.
Right.
Liberating indeed. Yeah.
Ma'am, you are here, and we cannot possibly end this discussion without asking you a question about Bangalore Days. So, I said at the beginning of this conversation, and this is true for so many of us, like Bangalore Days was a gateway film for us to discover a whole new world of cinema. So, and even when we want to introduce people to Malayalam cinema, I recommend you start with Bangalore.
All of us.
That is the first film you should watch. And now it has always been a cult film, and it has now really reached a lot, like iconic status all across India, in fact. So how does that make you feel, ma'am? Like you're a film, did you imagine that it'll end up being like such a celebration across India, and like the film everybody wants to start off when they watch Malayalam cinema?
No, I mean, when we were making it, obviously not, right? And frankly, see, once the film is made, it's no longer your film. I'm also watching Bangalore Days, like, oh, okay. It's at a distance from me. It's not something that I can claim anything about. And it's the audience's film now. It's not, I cannot say, oh, that's my film and this is how I made it. And I thought of this and thought of that. I think, it just goes, and then that's it. Was it Bob Dylan who, I can't remember if it was Bob Dylan or Leonard Cohen, who they were on a ship and somebody else was singing their song, and they said, "Hey, they're singing your song," and they're singing it a little differently, and he said, "No, they're singing their song."
Right.
So it's that as an artist, for me, it was a learning that these things are not ours. When people, I have been in rooms where I have heard people having arguments about the film and defending one and going against the other, and sitting there watching, and sometimes they don't know it's a film that I've been part of, and it's just fascinating how much they've taken it up. So I'm just somebody who's watching from a distance now. It doesn't, it's not, I don't know, I cannot think of it in that way.
But it is so iconic, ma'am. I mean, it is something else, really. Like, well,
I wish I could give you like some big bold statement, but I can only watch it from a distance and say, God bless, thank God. It was lovely to be part of that. And we've all enjoyed our time through it. So very grateful, more than anything, that what I feel is grateful for that experience.
Right. I think Arup and Ashmita, I think we are done with all the questions. And thank you, ma'am. It's such a pleasure to have you here and like to listen to you and to get your perspective on cinema, on Wonder Woman. And thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today.
Pleasure, entirely mine. Thank you.
I will be fangirling after the recording goes off.